Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have Dr. Mike Van Thielen with me. Hey, Dr. Mike.
Hey, Dr. Kim, thanks for having me.
Yes, so glad to have you. I'm just going to read your bio so people can know a little bit about you. So, Dr. Mike Van Thielen, PhD, and world record holder in swimming, is a leader and visionary in biohacking the body, mind, and life. After working with thousands of patients, Dr. Mike realized that most people are not living their purpose and do not perform at their highest potential, with many afflicted by worry, fear, lack of focus, anxiety, and depression. He now dedicates his life to helping people find purpose, take control of their life, and unleash their superpowers. Dr. Mike is the CEO of Biohacking Unlimited and developer of the IZOD Method, a strategy for anyone to get into the zone on demand and bringing their A game. All right, so I'm excited to hear about all this. So why don't you tell us how this all started?
Oh, how it all started. Well, your listeners probably pick up an accent. I grew up in Belgium. I'm originally from Belgium. Uh, my brother and I were raised by our mom, who worked hard to provide for her two sons. And I think I was pretty competitive even as a young kid already. In elementary school, I was the fastest runner, was on a basketball team, was on a soccer team, but I lost in swimming because one of my best friends was part of the local swim team. And I don't really recall the details, but my mom tells me that the next day my solution was to join the local swim team myself too. And that's how I found my passion for swimming. And I still joke about it because it's actually my worst sport, right? Anyways, was very competitive. And then after I graduated physical therapy and physical education at the University of Brussels, I saved $400, packed a backpack, put my jeans on, and came to live the American dream. And so over here, I figured out there was a lot more than physical therapy and conventional medicine. And I went back to school to the Florida College of Integrative Medicine, got my license in acupuncture, doctor of Oriental Medicine, board certified in Chinese herbs, homeopathy, the whole 9 yards. And after another almost 1,000 patients, I got pretty frustrated because yes, these modalities or quote unquote alternative therapies are indeed less invasive than conventional medicine, meaning drugs, surgeries, and injections. But I really didn't get the long lasting results I was hoping for either. So that's when I decided to go back to basics. And that's when I got my PhD in holistic nutrition. And I also started really to look close to Mother Nature because I figured Mother Nature must have the truths about health. So I always tell people now, ask yourself, what do animals in the wild do? And many times that gives you the correct answer. But fast forward, I got very confident in helping people regain control of their health. And whether it was cancer or Parkinson's or lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, and at the same time have a competitive background and always being involved with athletes, I kind of found the secrets and the keys to optimizing performance. Whether you're an athlete or an executive or a performer, it doesn't really matter. So I got into the anti-aging medicine in the early 2000s, then 2012, 15, until after COVID, it was all about regenerative medicine and stem cells. And now the buzzword is biohacking, which is basically objectively reversing your biological age, becoming younger as we chronologically become older. And the key here is to unleashing those superpowers and become superhuman and, and be the best version of yourself. And so that's where we are today.
Wow, what a wonderful journey. And, who doesn't want to feel good, look younger, live longer, but live longer a quality of life?
That's right. Yeah, that's the key, right? I mean, chronological age doesn't really mean anything. It's your birth date and how many years you've been on this planet. But if we stand still for a second and think about it, we all know that 65-year-old that looks 90 and is always in and out of the hospital and has no quality of life at all. They're just keeping that person alive. And then we have the 89 or the 92-year-old that is still walking, golfing, is 100% okay with the mind and is independent and nobody needs to help them, right? And so what does chronological age really mean? Nothing, right? So it's all about biological age. It's about your lifespan, your health span. And so I believe 100% that today, not just the elite, but the average person, if we implement these biohacking strategies, technologies on a daily basis, I believe we all easily can be 100 years chronologically, but be able to do what a 40, 50-year-old does. So again, it's still enjoying to travel, enjoying your family, your grandkids, finding fulfillment in life, doing something productive, living for service, whatever it is that you like to do. And I think that today that's available for everybody.
That's wonderful. So I think might be the age-old question. Is it diet? Is it environment? Is it movement or not movement?
It,
Which one is the important one? You know how
no,
there's kind of like
it's
back and
all of
forth?
the above. There is no magic bullet. There is no magic or pill or anything like that, right? So no, when it comes to biohacking, and it's great because we can objectively measure our biological age, so we can measure it today, implement strategies for 3 months, 6 months, a year, measure it again, and see if they are effective in reversing that biological age. But no, it's like anything else. We need to put foundations in place in order to be successful. And those foundations, they don't cost anything. They're very simple. You probably heard of them, but we need to practice them on a daily basis. So, people have heard about biohacking. Maybe they think, oh, I need to buy a hyperbaric chamber and put it in my bedroom, or I need to buy a very expensive whole body photo biomodulation device, or I need to do this or that. I mean, it's not that those things don't work, and they could be beneficial, but your body only will respond to them if you already have the foundations in place and if you already are in optimal health. So with my clients, I basically put them in 3 categories. Number one, regaining control of your health. And unfortunately, that's where most people fall, right? Because they're either diagnosed with some kind of a medical condition, they're in pain, or they're overweight. In other words, they're below normal. So we need to regain control. That's step number one. Step number two, once we're back to base and normal, we need to reach for optimal health. So we need to incorporate lifestyle modifications so that we feel strong and fit and vibrant and we're on top of our game. And only then will optimal health be the foundation or the ideal foundation to maximize the benefits of biohacking and now reverse that biological age. So each step obviously has its strategies and methodologies to get to the next step. But there's, in my latest book, I talk about 7 foundations that need to be in place in order to get there.
Do you want to share some of those just so people have an idea
Sure,
what you're
sure.
talking about?
Because
Yeah.
because those are the things people can start doing, and you heard of them, and they're simple, but we're not doing them, right? So number one is air. Is clean air, but also knowing what to do with that air.
Mhm.
So yes, we got 21% of oxygen. Everybody's got the same amount, right?
Mhm.
But first of all, we need to get fresh air, so we need to spend a lot more time outdoors versus recirculated air in our, buildings, apartments, houses, etc. So we got to spend more time outdoor, and it's easily done. Go out for lunch, go out, sit outside for dinner if it's not raining, take the family outdoors, do outdoor activities, spend time outdoors, during the day. But the most important part in this first one is breath work, because 99% of us don't know how to breathe. We got something when we were born, the nose. And the nose is not to sneeze. It's not designed to sneeze. It's actually designed to breathe. The mouth is designed to speak and to eat, right? And so we're not utilizing the nose. A normal breath, and this would surprise most of the listeners, a normal breath is 5 counts in through the nose, because that's where we capture nitric oxide and drive it deep down into the tissues and into our cells, and
Mhm.
out 6 counts through the nose. And so if we think about that, we only would take an average of 5.5 breaths per minute, while most of us now take anywhere from 16 to 20, 22 breaths per minute.
Mm.
So it would increase efficiency by 300%. What does that mean? Yes, we need air or oxygen to live, but at the same time, oxygen accelerates aging. Oxygen is oxidative stress. Oxygen rusts our organs, our tissues, our cells. So
Mm.
too much is no good. So imagine learning how to breathe properly and increasing efficiency of oxygen by 300%. It may be the number one biohack. And it doesn't have to cost anything to learn, because you can go on YouTube, or currently the best app out there to download on your smart devices. It was called the Breath Source, but I believe now it's called The Source. because all the breath masters in the world are on the same platform and you can download it for free. So go ahead and learn to breathe. So that's number one, air. Let's utilize this properly. It's free. Number two, water. We all heard it. We have to drink enough water. We have to drink clean water. We need to hydrate because we are a plumbing system. We have a circulatory system. We have a lymphatic system, which is part of our immune system. And so things need to move and hydrate. Think about a plumbing system. It needs water, right? It needs to move because stagnation equals disease, right? So first of all, water. I say clean water. So based on where you live, make sure you do whatever it takes, some kind of a system at your drinking water to clean it from all the, toxins, especially in the United States. It's pretty bad that they put fluoride in our drinking water. Us and New Zealand are the only countries in the world that allow a neurotoxin to be in our drinking water, but there's a lot more bad stuff in it. So make sure you have access to clean drinking water and you drink enough. Now, there's many other things that we drink that has the opposite effect and dehydrate us. Sodas, coffees, teas, energy drinks. You need a lot of water to neutralize it. So the less of those other things you drink, the more you are hydrated. So even if you drink your normal amount of water, if you also drink the other stuff, you're probably in a deficit, right? So try to just drink water. Because what do animals in the wild drink after they come off the mother's breast? Only water. Only water. There's no other drinks.
They have a Coke when they're out there.
That's right. They probably won't even drink it if we give it to them. Right?
Probably not.
So that's number two. Number three is movement. And I say that right after water because we're a plumbing system. Stagnation is disease. So, but movement means we got to constantly move all our waking hours. Because I know people, they go to the gym every single day, an hour and a half, but then they sit still, for example, selling insurance for 8 hours. And so from a health point of view, that's not ideal. We need to constantly move. We need to walk. We need to run. We need to dance. We need to play with the dogs. We need to play with the kids, the grandkids. We got to go out and do this and do that. And we got to keep moving. And if your life prevents that, then there's technologies like high frequency vibration platforms, power plates, mini trampolines, but we need to move, right? So that's number three. Number four is the opposite. It's rest. In order to be healthy, we need deep delta sleep. So we need to sleep long enough, but the quality is even more important because during that delta sleep, that's where our body recovers, replenishes, repairs, and renews, right? Think about a supermarket, and what if the people during at night do not restock the shelves for 1 or 2 nights? There's no supermarket. But it's the same with our body. If our body cannot repair, replenish, and regenerate, we're going to be sluggish the next day, and even sluggier the next day. And that's where that chronic fatigue and all that lack of energy comes in, right? Because we don't recuperate. And so we need to find ways to get into a deep delta sleep. And there's only one way to find out. If you are in a deep delta sleep and you wake up, guess what? You feel ready to go. And most of us, they're not this, oh my God, I got to get up. I'm still tired. And if that's you, you need to do something about it. And there's many things you can do something about it. But I teach my clients to make a evening power routine that kind of prepares them to go to bed, right? So 2 examples, and there's many, and they're usually I customize them, but do not eat or snack several hours, 3, 4, ideally 5 hours before you go to bed, because if digestion is still taking place and your body is still working, you cannot get into a deep, restful delta sleep, all right? So avoid snacking and eating hours before you get to bed. Number 2, just like me, and a lot of people, their mind's going when they go to bed first. Oh, what I got to do tomorrow, I got to do this, and you're thinking about and worrying about so many things. So part of my power routine is a 1-minute visualization where I visually go through the next 24 hours and make the right decision at each point of contact. And when I do that before I go to sleep, guess what? I don't have to worry about the next 24 hours. What I'm going to do, where I'm going to go, how I'm going to get there, what I'm going to say during the meeting, and those types of things. So that's just an example. But we need to find a way to get the deep delta sleep. That was number 4. Number 5, sunlight. Sunlight is not sun heat. Heat is bad for us, but light stimulates all biological processes, physiological processes, nutritional processes in our body. You can look it up. Light stimulates everything in a positive way. And we all heard, of course, about the vitamin D and things like that. But think about this. Look at all the animals that live around the equator in the Amazon and in the rainforest. They're all tall and vibrant and strong and colorful versus quite the opposite, animals that don't see light. A mole, they're even blind, right? So who do you want to be? And when it comes to light, it's exposure. So we really don't need hats and glasses. And if we can minimize clothing, especially in your own backyard, take off that shirt, replace long pants with short pants, and expose your body to that light because, you know, it absorbs it. Don't go out during the heat. That's where you burn. That's where you get cancer. Think about animals in the wild again. They are out early in the morning, late at night. That's when they hunt during the heat. They are hiding in the shade and they are digesting their foods, right? That's what they're doing. So sunlight's important. Again, if you live in Iceland or Norway in the winter and there is no sunlight, that's where technologies can come in, right? Infrared lights and biomodulation devices. So the technology is there, so there's no excuses, right? But Mother Nature is the most powerful. We got two left. And one of them you mentioned. Is it all about diet? No, diet's only one of the 7, right? But yes, we need to upgrade the things that we take in. And the easiest way, because we could talk about diet 24/7 straight, right? But the easiest thing to, I think, for your listeners to understand is, and this is what I believe, that there's only one cause of all disease, and it's toxemia. Toxemia literally means toxins in the blood. But in a little bit more detail, what it means is that as part of daily living, as part of our metabolism, we obviously produce waste, we produce toxins. But in a healthy organisms, those toxins are removed by the bowels, the kidneys, the skin, etc. So no harm is done. However, in today's world, we are exposed to and ingest far more toxins than the body possibly can eliminate. And therefore, there's an accumulation of toxins in the blood and the body, and that's what we call toxemia. Now, according to scientific research, toxemia does 2 things. Number 1, these toxins floating around steal an electron from a healthy atom, which then becomes unstable, which we all know as free radicals. And there's our oxidative stress and our free radical damage. And people understand it or don't understand it, but certainly heard of it. But number 2, even more important and easier to understand, we are now in a constant state of what? Emergency, because we can't keep up with the elimination. And conventional medicine has actually a term for this. It's called systemic inflammation. And finally, conventional medicine now agrees that over 90% of all disease is directly correlated to this systemic inflammation. So that's why I say toxemia is the cause of all disease. So now, how do we prevent it? Well, we don't have to be health freaks, but what we need to do is we need to keep toxemia in check. How do we do that? Theoretically, very easy. We need to reduce and mitigate as much of the toxins as possible. From where? From our man-made foods, man-made drinks, because as we know, they're loaded with, you know, artificial colorings and flavorings, and they're void of nutrients, right? So we need to avoid as many as we can of those. From what else? Our over-the-counter prescriptions, and prescription drugs, that's all toxic, right? We need to also avoid household products, cleaning products, the cosmetic products that we put on our skin, especially women, all toxins that are absorbed. And then today, electromagnetic frequencies and electromagnetic radiation from our Bluetooth devices, appliances, wireless, our cell phones, our fluorescent light bulbs, etc. And so there's many things that we can do that don't cost anything. We can't avoid it if we want to live in this modern world. We can't avoid it if we want this convenience of the modern world, but we can drastically reduce our exposure to it. And so we need to do what we can there and simultaneously do what? Increase the nutrients that fight free radical damage, systemic inflammation, and repair our DNA. And if we can do just tip that balance, then we will be bulletproof against any viruses, bacteria, or any chronic diseases and cancers of the 21st century. And so that's what I teach my clients to do, is tip that scale. So that's number 6. And number 7 is probably the most important. That's where I always start, even though I mentioned it last. Upgrading the mind. Our mindset is key to everything. The mind is the blueprint to our body. It controls our body. So it controls health and disease, but it's also the blueprint to our future, to our failure or successes. And we all know that most of us are held back by the past because there's many things in the past that we label wrongly as failures. even though they're lessons, right, that we're supposed to take and move forward, but we're held back by them. I can't do this, I can't do this. Oh, he or she can, but I probably can't. And so we're held back by the past. So we really need to work on our belief system. We need to upgrade that belief system, and we need to get in control of our minds, right? Because most of us are not. We're in control. We're controlled by our feelings. We're controlled by what other people say. We are controlled by our false core beliefs, and we need to turn that around and be in control of all of that ourselves, so we can shape our future and be whatever we want to be without any restrictions, and unleash those superpowers and its full potential. Because when I say upgrading the mindset, what I really mean, it's not just, meditation. No, it starts with a bigger picture, because I believe, and again, this is just my belief, that our spirit choose our body for a very specific reason. And our mind is there to try to make sense of it, figuring out what it is, and then allow us to live our purpose. However, that doesn't happen in the majority of us. And why is that? The answer is ego, right? We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And what people don't realize is that we are bombarded with about 14,000 messages per day, each one of us. But there's only a very, very small amount that is basically stored into our conscious mind. And it's only the information that we pay attention to. So if you're listening to this interview and podcast, if you're watching a movie, if you're reading a book, that's the information that's processed and stored in the conscious mind. But the vast majority of information coming to us is stored in the unconscious mind. So that's where most of the information is. That's where our potential lies. That's where we could connect with the universe and all its resources. Now, why can we not tap into that? Because of our ego, I said. Because our ego mainly operates in the conscious mind, and it's there to protect us from distress. But it only does that based on information of the conscious mind. So we need to really learn to manage and be in control of all the faculties of the unconscious mind, and put that ego aside and work on that belief system and all those things. And that's where techniques like visualization, manifestation, gratitude journaling, breath work, meditation, and all those things come into play to access, those resources and access that unlimited potential by putting that ego aside and get into that meditative state. And so that will influence everything else. So that's kind of one of the first things that we really need to work on with people when they want to overcome cancer, right? Or when they want to become an Olympic gold medalist, and everything else in between. Because if you have any doubt in your mind that you're going to overcome that cancer or be an Olympic gold medalist, guess what? The universe has two options: failure or success. But if there's no doubt in your mind that you're going to be that, or you're going to overcome that cancer, whatever it may be, then the universe only has one option: a big win, right? So those are 7 foundational things. And what I do is I take the elements, and I create a power routine for you, or you create your own power routine. And the elements are the same for everybody, but it's a little bit customized, right? Because I'm very bad at meditation because my mind keeps going. But breath work works for me because I'm so focused on my breath that suddenly everything else clears from my mind. And other people are better with gratitude journaling. So whatever it works for you, we mold that into a power routine. It doesn't have to be hours per day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 10 in the morning, 10 at night. We'll figure out what works. But it's a routine that you can count on every single day, that brings you one incremental step closer to your goals, your dreams, overcoming a disease, whatever it may be. And that's the key. It's being consistent a few minutes a day, is going outside, is drinking that water, is having that sunlight, it's doing that movement, it is practicing that visualization or whatever it may be. And if you do that every day, it's amazing how quickly you're going to go to that next level and that next level and the next level. So those are 7 basics everybody can start today.
Well, thank you so much. And that makes sense to me, because the days that I would go to the office, I go to the park and walk at lunchtime, and that really helps. Except for today was a rainy day, so I did go out, but with my umbrella.
But guess what you did, Dr. Kim? You stacked the biohacks, because when you go out, guess what you're doing? Now you have sunlight, okay? You have fresh air, and then if you know how to breathe it properly, you stack those biohacks, and now you're moving, That's biohack number 3. And if you take your shoes off, you're grounding and expelling that excess energy and excess negative energy in the ground. So you can stack your biohacks just by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, when you're talking about like foods that have less toxins, are there certain foods that actually help clear the toxins out? Because I know there's some we just don't want to put in, but are there some that actually help clear it? Because I know I'll start my day with like a green drink because to me,
Mhm.
green is good and it's kind of a clearing, cleansing type of thing.
Yes, green is always cleansing fruits, vegetables. Again, the closer to Mother Nature, the better. So yes, you need to try to eat as much wholesome organic foods. However, today in this society where we are a very basic, creation, but we're in this modern high-tech world with, again, all these toxins that we're not made for,
Mm,
to absorb and to neutralize and mitigate. So I believe that today high quality supplements unfortunately are an insurance policy for optimal health because again I said earlier we don't need to be health freaks because I believe that you simply need to give your body all the essential nutrients that it needs so it can replenish, repair, and repair itself.
mm,
The problem with most of us is that, due to our SAD, standard American diet, right, we don't get those nutrients. So now the cells are forced to do what? Utilize, inferior, incompatible nutrients to repair and, regenerate and renew itself. It's like having an original piece of paper and making a copy, and then taking that copy and making a copy, then taking that copy, making a copy. You can't read it anymore. And
mm,
that's degeneration and mutation, which is disease and cancer.
mm.
So I don't believe you need to be a health freak because they usually don't look healthy either, right? But I believe that it's very important to get all the essential nutrients your body needs on a daily basis. And if you do that, then the body can utilize the nutrients to be in optimal shape. And then, only then, it's okay to get your taco on Tuesday and your pizza and your one beer on Saturday. It's okay, but it's not okay if that's all you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Pizza, not pizza every day.
No.
And as we're going into like the aging years, 50, 60, 70, are there special things that these people should or could do to
Yeah.
enjoy
Again,
it? Yeah.
when we talk about aging, we all assume that aging is linear, but that's wrong. Aging is exponential. And we know that, right? Between 20 and 30, we don't age as much as between 60 and 70 or 50 and 60. So we need to realize it's exponential. So to fight it or to counteract it, we need to also do that exponentially. Otherwise, we're just treadmilling, right? So yes, but we got to make sure you go through those 3 phases. And once you are biohacking, there's many compounds and nutrients that would be very helpful to increase your longevity and do the actual aging. And so, for example, this is not just simple water, this is hydrogen water. Also, I'm looking right now at my hydrogen inhalation. There is many compounds and nutrients that I take, such as spermidine, NAD+, NADPH, and other compounds that have been scientifically proven to, to reverse biological age. So yes, there's things that you do, such as the 7 foundations, and then in addition, you utilize nutrients that have been showing to, repair DNA. I mean, if you can repair DNA, you obviously are reversing, right?
Mhm.
There are nutrients that stimulate stem cell activity. Stem cells repair and re-engineer tissues and cells. So how do I now make sure I have ample stem cells, and ample DNA repair? That's a good example, actually, now that we're on it, because all of us, people don't notice, we have a DNA repair system inside of us. So it's a system called the ARTD1 system that we all have that normally repairs our DNA when it's damaged. For example, by oxidative stress, but in most of us, it doesn't work. Why? Because it needs fuel. And the fuel for the DNA repair system is NAD+, right? So now, how do we make sure we have enough NAD+? And I can go into that, but there's certain things now that we can do to make sure we have an ample amount of that. And so that's true biohacking. After we put those 7 foundations in place, we can go to that next level where we were at optimal health, but now we are going to take an extra step to actually, while we chronologically getting older, we biologically are getting younger. And that's why when we do these things at age 100, I can do the things a 40, 50-year-old can do. So I'm 52 now, Dr. Kimberly. So when I'm 100, I'm just going to look exactly like this and doing the exact same things I'm doing now, because every year I get chronologically a year older, but I'm doing all the things to biologically reverse another year. So I'm going to stay like this. So in
Awesome.
10 years, let's do another podcast and see what's happening.
Okay, that sounds great. That's really
That's the
great.
challenge.
And we've been talking probably more about adults who've had some habits for a long time, but any suggestions for parents to raise children, I know you have the 7 things, but to raise children who continue wanting to be healthy even into of course, the teenage years when we know everybody's eating
Yeah.
something like pizza
Well,
or sodas or
again, it's we're all a product of our environment, right? So kids are a product of your environment, right? So if you all eat pizza when you watch a movie and that's what you do, then they're gonna end up. And this is not genetically, right? Because people use genetics as an excuse. Oh, cancer runs in my family, or we're all obese, or we all have diabetes, so this is my fate. No. There's the science of epigenetics. You can look it up. Epigenetics clearly shows, without any doubt, that we can change our genetic makeup. We can up and down regulate genes. And if we change it by simply modifying your lifestyle, you and the next 7 generations, don't have that predisposition. So it's usually used as an excuse, the genetic makeup, right? And the reason you all have the same diseases is because you all do the same things, right? But if you start changing that for you and your family, then you will be the hero, because the next generations won't have to genetically predisposed. But when you say, parents and kids, yes, if you show them on a daily basis what you eat, what you do, and that's your lifestyle, then obviously the kids adopt that lifestyle. And then even though they may go to college and get into a different lifestyle for a while, they also learned what's healthy. They know where they need to go back to. They know the roots. They know when they get in trouble, what to do to get back on the right path, because you were the inspiration. You set the example. So, I mean, unfortunately, if you're the doctor that's 300 pounds and you start a weight loss program for your patients, it's not going to be successful, right? So you need to set that example. And I think and it's never too late. It's never too late. Even if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, it's never too late to start doing this, because you will be amazed how quickly you find the benefits. And you talked about habits. Habits are indeed hard to break, right? But people think it takes months or years, and no, it's not. It takes, according to science, an average of 12 attempts. So if I'm saying I'm not going to eat this during the week, and in the weekend I am going to eat it, and that's a habit you're going to have to break. If you only resist it a few times, each time it gets easier, and after a week or two, it's a good habit, because people are addicted to bad food and fast food, etc. But then you have, on the other hand, people that are addicted to healthy food and juicing and whatever it may be. And again, it's the same. They can't go without the good. They can go without the bad. It takes a little bit of effort, not much, to transition, but then you will be addicted to this good lifestyle. And when you smell a burger or somebody wants to go get one, it's like, I don't even feel like it. You maybe say it smells good, and then you eat one with them, and it's like, oh, now I feel bad, because your body knows what's good for you and what's not, right? So yes, it takes a little bit of effort, but it's a short-term effort for a long-term benefit. It's trading your short-term pleasures and indulgences for the real treasures in life, which are health, wealth, meaning sharing your abundance, doesn't have to be money, right? Living for service, and finding fulfillment in life and unleashing those superpowers. And that's far more important. And it only takes a few weeks to do that. But many of us need a coach. Like I need a coach in the gym. That's why we have people like you, Dr. Kim, and myself, and many other coaches and mentors and functional medicine doctors out there that not only can steer you in the right direction, but make you accountable so you can reach your goals in a few weeks. And when you see the benefits, you probably don't need a coach, because then you don't want to go back to where you were. Right?
Exactly. And that makes sense what you're telling, us about like the habit or just choosing your 12 times to do that. So I
Yeah,
thought about as I came off dairy years ago, first we went to rice milk and I didn't think it was very good, but I got used to it. But then they said, "Oh, now we have this soy milk." So I switched, it's supposed to be better. So I went to soy milk and I'm like, okay. And then they came out with almond milk and I'm like, oh, this one's better. So now I'm at almond milk. The thing is, every time I had to switch from, cow dairy milk to rice milk to soy to almond, I didn't like the switch. I didn't like any of them when I first tried them.
sure.
But,
Yes, and again, I mean, we say almond milk, coconut milk, rice milk. Obviously, it's not really milk. They call it milk because it's white and it looks like milk, but it doesn't come from an animal, right? It comes from almonds or coconuts or rice. Um, and each of them, based on how they're manufactured, may have some toxins in it too, because, for example, almond milk, many times to bind it, has carrageenan in it, which is
Mhm.
cancerous, right? So there's always something. But then the ultimate question is, what do I need it for in the first place? Because dairy is totally useless. There's no discussion about it. Again, think about animals in the wild after they come off the mother's breast, not the breast of another species, because we're kind of a little bit perverse. We have some perversions. We are humans and we're drinking the milk of another species intended for their calves. No other species does that, right? So that's just the industry and the promotion. And supposedly milk's full of calcium. First of all, it's the wrong type of calcium. That calcium is not absorbed by our body.
Mhm.
And so it's full of antibiotics and pus from the infections of the others. There's no nutritional value. All it does is cause havoc in the body, cause allergies in kids, and all these types of things. So there's zero use for it. And people say, what about calcium? Well, where do you think the cows, if they would be grazing in the field, get their calcium from? The greeny leafy vegetables, right? That's where it comes from. So skip the middleman, skip the cow, and eat your, again, it always comes back to the same thing, right? So you can change from cow milk to rice milk to coconut milk and to almond milk, but the core question is, do you need any of those? And the answer is no, right?
Yeah. And that's a great point.
Oh, but what do I do with my cornflakes? Well, do you need the cornflakes?
That's
No. Breakfast is
Do we
over.
need the
Breakfast
cornflakes?
is
No.
overrated as it is, right? It's not the most important meal. It's the least important meal of the day.
Hmm. Well, if it was your birthday or a special day and you were told you can eat whatever you want, what is your favorite meal? What is your favorite go-to meal just for you?
Well, Well, of course, I'm originally from Belgium, and for those people that travel, they know that. And I didn't realize because I grew up there, but it has the best foods and drinks, and the food is very rich. And so I would immediately think about my mom making something for me. If you asking me my favorite food, it could be pork loin with Pinot de Charente and a very rich sauce with grapes, and then croquettes. In the US, we don't know croquettes. We know cheese croquettes and ham croquettes, maybe
Uh-huh.
from Cuba. But in Europe, they have croquettes. It's fried, but it's mashed potatoes inside. And so that would be one of the first things I would think of. But yeah, just of course, everybody enjoys a good meal. And I believe in order to be superhuman and in optimal health, you don't have to be that health freak. I eat a lot of things you would say, like, huh, Dr. Mike eats that. And it's okay because my body breaks it down and expels it. But that's because I also eat and supplement with all the nutrients that I need on a daily basis. And that's the key. Get all the good stuff, and your body knows exactly what to do with the good stuff. And then it's okay to have some bad stuff and enjoy life too. But it doesn't go without the good stuff, because if you only eat the bad stuff, your body's going to degenerate, it's going to age quickly, and you're going to get in big trouble sooner than you think. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like, I don't know if you prepare your own lunch or whatever, but when it comes to like food prep, sometimes people think, well, if I'm going to eat healthy, it's going to take me all this time to do all this prep. But do you have any hacks for that?
Yes, there. I mean, I'm lucky now because I just moved into not too long ago in an apartment complex here, and I walked down less than a mile, and there's a farm to fit place, which again, it's all local sourced, organically sourced, and guess what? It's delicious. When I make it, it's usually not as delicious. So it tastes good and it is healthy. And then there's, another place with healthy salads. And so, that helps. Based on where you live, there may be actually healthy places around where you can pick up some food. But again, if you make sure you take your supplements, I juice a lot, so I juice twice a week. It takes me half an hour to juice, and I usually make 10 or 12 of these juices, which last me, about 4 days. That's why I have to do it twice. So in the morning, I don't eat. Breakfast is the worst meal you can help, and we can go into why, but you shouldn't have breakfast. But then there's fruit and there's my juices, and that brings me to, through lunch. Even if I do have lunch, again, it's something small. It may be that salad that I just talked about. And then I take my supplements, I have juicing, and I have a little salad. And then ideally, I only have one meal per day. And so that meal doesn't even have to be the healthiest meal, because I just said I took all my supplements, I had a healthy meal, I've been juicing, my body has all the nutrients it needs. So it doesn't even have to be an unhealthy meal, right? And so it's not that difficult, and I save money, and I only make one meal a day. So, there you go.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like my juicing, because I'm like, well,
Love
even if I
juicing.
go out to eat and I just get a burger,
Yeah,
I
and people say,
I
"Oh,
I,
that
I have
juicing."
my vegetables in me already,
Yeah,
It's
and
not
a lot more
available.
vegetables than anybody could eat, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and people say, "Oh, I hate the taste of a juice." No, you make your own juice, and you make it. You figure it out pretty quickly what your taste is, and so I make different juices. But mine, I love my juices. I crave them because I made it so I can. I like the taste of it, because people say all the green stuff. Yes, I use kale and I use all the greens and the cucumbers and the celery. And yes, it doesn't taste great, but you can do things to hide it. You can put in a few lemons with the zest if you like lemon. Or if you like ginger, put ginger root in there and it hides the taste of the greens. So there are obviously ways. You don't want to just use fruit, because then you're going to have too much sugar, even though this is good sugar, simple sugars. Okay, so it's still not a bad thing, because you'll burn those, especially if you do the movement on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean you can put just some organic pineapple in with it to make it sweet and hide the taste of the green stuff, right? So there's 100 ways to make it taste good, and when it tastes good, you're gonna crave it, because it's gonna make you feel good. Because this is true energy. Your Red Bulls, your coffees, they call them energy drinks, but they're all depressants, right? Because they give you an initial jolt of energy, because then you're in a deficit, and then you get into a quote unquote depressive, low energy state. And that's why you need another coffee, and that's why you need another Red Bull, right? So it's a vicious cycle of getting into a depressive state. This juicing, this is true energy. This gives you energy. The coffees and the energy drinks, they take energy from your body, so you find a jolt, but now you're in a deficit. Greens don't borrow energy, they give energy to your body.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So if people wanted to work with you or connect with you, how can they do that?
Yes, I'm not the biggest social media guy, so the best way is to go to my website, which is biohackingunlimited.com. All my books are there. We got virtual online courses, like the latest one is the Limitless Lab, a 12-week course to get to your best version of yourself. You can schedule a 20-minute free consultation with me to talk about what your problems are, what you want to achieve, and see if we're a fit. My mentorship programs are there. Our Costa Rica trip in 2025, if you want to join us, is there. So everything that you need is on my website, biohackingunlimited.com.
Thank you. So
You're
now I have a
welcome.
personal question for you. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life right now?
It's helping other people, right? Because I think most of us don't really know what our purpose is. And that's the first step. What I do with people is really honing into asking questions. and figuring out together where your passion lies, what gives you fire in your stomach. And most of us don't have that, right? Because we're just going a job and we're just, paying the bills, but we're not living our dreams. And that's the first thing we have to start thinking about and start working on, so we can eventually transition into really what our passion is. Because when we live our passion, our purpose, obstacles suddenly become stepping stones and opportunities versus, oh my God, why me? Why this? Why that? So it's the foundation, the purpose. And so when you find your purpose, obviously you're going to wake up in the morning wanting to get things done versus waking up and, oh my God, I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. So I think it's about purpose and passion. And so in my case, and in everybody's case, we are social beings. And when we help other people, on a daily basis, that's when we find the most fulfillment. Yes, we're helping the other person, but we're doing ourselves a much bigger favor, right? And so I think I found that not everybody is going to respond to the things that I say, but on a daily basis, there's always people that I help to a certain extent, and that gives me fulfillment, and that's my purpose. And so I encourage people to find their purpose and live for service and help other people, because that's how we feel whole and that's how we find fulfillment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing your foundations and all your ideas so we can be healthier and feel good.
Yes, and that's what it's all about, I think. And Dr. Kim, thank you for your time, because this is a joint effort, get the information out there. So thank you also for your efforts and your time.
You're welcome. So I have one last question before we finish.
Mhm.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
The best advice. Well, it's you got to change that mindset. I think for most people is please realize, look in the mirror, you're living in your comfort zone. And we're not slaves in the sense that we're wearing shackles, but we are slaves of this society in the sense that they don't want us to unleash your superpower. They want you to go to work and they want you to stay in this comfort zone. And the reason they keep you there is they throw all these short-term convenience. Oh, we got Netflix, we got TV, we got all these convenience that supposedly make us happy. But again, we're not unleashing our superpower. So look in the mirror and look deeper, because we all know there's a lot more inside of us, but we're afraid. And so we need to step out of that comfort zone, because that's where we find our purpose. That's where we discover ourselves. That's where we can be extraordinary. And if you can't do it alone, look for a coach, but step out of that comfort zone, please, and unleash your superpowers.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mike.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.